The Nevada desert was a graveyard of silence at night, its vast emptiness broken only by the occasional whisper of the wind against the dunes. Captain Ryan Mercer sat in the firehouse just outside Rachel, Nevada, nursing a lukewarm coffee when the call came in. All units, emergency at Groom Lake facility. Respond immediately. Groom Lake, Area 51. The radio fell silent after that. No details, no instructions, just urgency. Mercer exchanged glances with his crew. They had trained for high-security responses before, but never here. "Gear up," he ordered, strapping into his turnout coat. Within minutes, their fire engine was barreling down the long, desolate road toward the most secretive base in America. The usual checkpoint was unmanned, the heavy gates yawning open like a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. No guards, no personnel, just red emergency lights pulsing in the distance. As they approached the airstrip, a low, pulsing hum vibrated through the truck's frame. It wasn't coming from the sirens. It was deeper, unnatural. Mercer gritted his teeth. "Anybody else feel that?" His men nodded, exchanging uneasy glances. Then they saw it. Hangar 16, its massive sliding doors pried open, black smoke curling into the night sky. But there was no fire, just a strange, shimmering heat rippling out of the structure. They parked outside and grabbed their equipment. Mercer's boots crunched against the gravel as he approached the hangar, scanning the darkness inside. Then the smell hit him. Not smoke, not chemicals, something organic, rotting. "Hello," he called. No answer. He raised his flashlight. Inside, a row of overturned tables, shattered glass, and equipment lay scattered across the concrete floor. The walls were lined with massive observation tanks, all cracked open. Some still dripped with a viscous greenish fluid. Something had been inside those tanks, and now it wasn't. A metallic clang echoed from deeper inside the hangar. The firefighters froze. Then a shadow moved. Something was in there with them. Mercer's grip tightened on his flashlight as the darkness swallowed his beam. He took a step forward, and the screaming began. The scream shattered the silence, raw and inhuman. It echoed off the cold steel walls of Hangar 16, making it impossible to tell where it had come from. Mercer's pulse slammed against his ribs. "Stay together," he barked, gripping his flashlight like a lifeline. His crew, Rodriguez, Carter, and Hale, formed a tight formation, axes and hoses at the ready. The air inside was thick, heavy with something that clung to the skin like static electricity. Mercer fought the overwhelming sense that they shouldn't be here. A flickering light drew his gaze to the far end of the hangar. A single fluorescent tube buzzed overhead, illuminating something smeared across the concrete floor. Blood. "Jesus," Rodriguez muttered. It led to a crumpled figure against the wall. A soldier, his uniform torn, eyes frozen wide in terror. His throat was slashed, but not by a blade. The wound was too jagged, too uneven, like something had torn into him. Mercer swallowed hard. "We need to find survivors." A metallic rattle came from the far corridor. The team spun, axes raised. A man in a white lab coat staggered into view. His eyes were wild, his face drenched in sweat. "You have to get out of here," he gasped. Mercer rushed forward. "Sir, we're here to help. What happened?" The scientist grabbed his jacket with trembling hands. "It's still inside. You don't understand. They said it was sedated, but it woke up. It..." His words choked off into a garbled gasp. His body convulsed, jerking violently, his eyes rolling back. Then before Mercer could react, something ripped him backward into the shadows. The firefighter staggered back, horrified. A deep, guttural growl reverberated through the hangar. It was close. A pair of eyes flickered in the darkness. Not human. "Move!" Mercer shouted. The team sprinted toward the exit, adrenaline pounding. But the moment they reached the open doors, something slammed them shut. Total darkness. Then came the sound. Wet. clicking, breathing. Rodriguez fumbled for his flashlight, hands shaking. The beam cut through the blackness, just in time to reveal a shape descending from the ceiling. It was tall, twisted, its body shifting unnaturally, skin glistening like wet obsidian. Its elongated fingers ended in curved talons, its mouth a vertical slit lined with needle-sharp teeth. It was watching them. Then it moved. The thing dropped from the ceiling without a sound, its elongated limbs absorbing the impact like a predator stalking its prey. Mercer's breath hitched as his flashlight illuminated slick, black skin, shifting like liquid metal. Its chest expanded with each slow, calculated breath. It was intelligent. It was hunting. Rodriguez took a step back, gripping his fire axe. Big mistake. The creature's head snapped toward him, moving too fast for human eyes to track. Its vertical mouth peeled open, revealing rows of needle-like teeth, twitching as if tasting the air. Then it lunged. Rodriguez barely had time to react before it was on him. He swung his axe wildly, the blade glancing off the creature's chitinous forearm with a metallic clang. It was strong, too strong. Carter and Hale grabbed the fire hose, twisting the nozzle. Hit it! A jet of high-pressure water blasted the creature, sending it skidding back with a guttural snarl. The force wasn't enough to injure it, but it was enough to make it hesitate. Mercer seized the opportunity. Rodriguez, move! They darted toward the maintenance tunnel, a narrow corridor at the back of the hangar. Mercer yanked open the steel door, shoving his men inside. He barely had time to slam it shut before something slammed into it from the other side, denting the thick metal inward. They backed away, chests heaving. What the hell is that thing? Hale gasped. I don't know, Mercer said. But it bleeds. That means we can kill it. The corridor stretched ahead, dimly lit by flickering emergency lights. A yellow restricted access sign hung loosely from the wall. Carter pointed ahead. That door! Let's move! The pounding behind them stopped. The silence was worse, then scraping. Mercer's stomach dropped. The thing wasn't breaking through, it was finding another way in. They sprinted for the security door. Hale yanked at the handle, locked. Help me force it! Rodriguez raised his axe, but before he could swing, something clattered in the vents above them, skittering, fast. Mercer froze. The realization hit him like a sledgehammer. It was above them. Then with a screech of bending metal, the vent burst open. The last thing Mercer saw was the creature's black, glistening talons reaching down for them. The creature dropped from the vent, its talons slicing through the air. Mercer dove aside as its arm ripped into the wall, shredding metal like paper. The firefighters scattered, adrenaline surging. Carter, get that door open! Mercer shouted. Carter fumbled with his Halligan tool, wedging it into the steel frame. The lock groaned but held. The creature twisted unnaturally, its glossy black skin shifting like liquid shadow. It moved too fast, its head cocking at an unnatural angle as if listening. Rodriguez gripped his axe. Screw this! He swung with everything he had. The blade buried into its shoulder, but the creature barely reacted. Instead, it whipped around and slammed Rodriguez with inhuman strength, sending him crashing against the wall. His body went limp. No! Rodriguez! Hale lunged, but Mercer yanked him back. The creature lurched forward, its mouth unfurling in a grotesque hiss. Then Mercer spotted it, the fire suppression system, a row of CO2 extinguishers mounted along the ceiling. Hit the sprinklers, he ordered. Hale grabbed his Halligan and smashed the nearest sprinkler head. Cold vapor burst from the pipes, flooding the corridor with a dense white fog. The creature shrieked, recoiling as the sudden temperature drop hit it. Mercer didn't hesitate. He grabbed an extinguisher, aimed at the thing's face, and unleashed a frozen blast of CO2. The creature staggered back, its black skin frosting over, muscles locking up. Carter pried the door open. Go, now! Mercer and Hale dragged Rodriguez through as the door slammed shut behind them. Panting, they took in their new surroundings. A lower-level security chamber. Yellow documents were scattered across desks, computers still flickering with cryptic warnings. Hale checked Rodriguez's pulse. He's breathing, but he's out cold. Mercer's eyes fell on an unmarked metal hatch in the corner. A red warning label read, "Subterranean containment, authorized personnel only." The firefighting instincts in him screamed bad idea, but staying here was worse. Carter turned to him. "Captain, that thing's still coming." Mercer clenched his jaw. "Then we go down." He gripped the wheel lock and spun it open. As the hatch groaned and slid aside, a deep, vibrating hum emanated from below. Whatever was down there, it was still alive. Mercer swung the hatch open, revealing a steel ladder plunging into darkness. A low-frequency hum vibrated through the air, making his teeth ache. Carter hesitated. "Captain, we don't know what's down there." "We know what's up here," Mercer countered. "Move." He slung Rodriguez over his shoulder, gritting his teeth against the weight, and began descending. One rung at a time, the air grew colder, the hum louder. The moment his boots hit the grated floor below, the overhead lights blinked on. A long, metallic corridor stretched ahead, lined with reinforced glass containment pods, all shattered. Hale's breath hitched. This wasn't just one thing. They were keeping multiple. Mercer carefully laid Rodriguez against the wall. His pulse was steady, but his face was pale. Then Carter cursed. "Captain, look at this." He pointed to a monitor still flickering on a nearby console. Mercer stepped closer. The screen displayed a security feed from the upper level. The creature, it was climbing down the hatch. "Damn it," Mercer growled. "Find another exit." Hale ran to a panel marked emergency access, flipping switches. "I think this leads to an external airlock." A sudden clang echoed above them. Then a low, distorted voice crackled over the speakers. "You shouldn't have come here." The team froze. Carter's face paled. "What the hell?" Mercer scanned the ceiling, looking for a speaker. "Who is this?" Static. Then, "You can't stop it. It's not alone." The overhead lights flickered, plunging them into momentary darkness. When they came back on, the corridor ahead wasn't empty anymore. A second figure stood at the far end, tall, motionless, watching. Its skin was different, pale, translucent, like stretched parchment over bone. Black veins pulsed beneath the surface. Then it opened its mouth. The scream wasn't human. Hale reeled back. "There's more of them?" The creature charged. Mercer didn't hesitate. He grabbed a nearby fire axe, yanking it from its emergency case, and swung, bearing it deep into the thing's chest. It shrieked, convulsing, black ichor spraying from the wound. But it kept moving. Carter yanked the emergency access lever. The door behind them slid open, revealing a staircase leading up. "Move now!" Mercer roared. As they sprinted for the exit, a new realization sank in. This wasn't an experiment gone wrong. It was a containment breach. Mercer pushed his team forward, every muscle screaming as they raced up the metal staircase. Behind them, the creature howled, its distorted voice reverberating off the walls. Rodriguez, half conscious, groaned on Mercer's shoulder. "What? What is happening?" "Stay with me, Rodriguez." Mercer gritted his teeth. Carter slammed the emergency bulkhead switch at the top of the stairs. The heavy steel door hissed shut, sealing the corridor behind them. The last thing Mercer saw was multiple figures emerging from the darkness, their skins shifting, their eyes empty. Then silence. Hale gasped for breath. "Are we safe?" A thunderous impact shook the door. A second, a third. The creatures were trying to break through. Mercer scanned the room. They were in an auxiliary hangar, filled with rusting supply crates and an abandoned military Humvee. A large roll-up door led outside, but the control panel blinked red. Carter cursed. "It's locked." Mercer knelt by a downed security officer, grabbing his keycard. "Try this." Carter swiped it. Access denied. "Damn it!" Rodriguez stirred. His voice was weak. "Override panel, near the generator." Mercer's gaze snapped to a power console across the room. Red wires had been ripped from it, sparking against the floor. A fresh impact slammed the bulkhead. The metal dented inward. They were out of time. Mercer grabbed a fire hose from a supply rack, tied it to the panel's exposed wiring, and turned the pressure valve to max. A jet of water surged into the exposed circuits. Sparks exploded, and the hangar shook as emergency power kicked in. Carter swiped the keycard again. Access granted. The massive roll-up door groaned upward, revealing the desert night. Mercer threw Rodriguez into the Humvee's passenger seat, while Hale and Carter jumped in. The bulkhead behind them buckled. Black claws punched through the metal. Mercer slammed the gas. The Humvee roared forward. As they tore out into the open desert, the hangar behind them erupted in movement. The creatures spilled into the night. Mercer gripped the wheel, breath ragged. "We're not safe yet." Hale's voice was tight. "Captain, look at the sky." Mercer glanced up. A massive triangular craft hovered above Groom Lake, silent, its black surface pulsating. Then a beam of white light erupted from its hull, and the desert went dark. Thanks for watching Brave Sparks. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more powerful and inspiring stories. Stay brave, and we'll see you in the next one.